She ruled our neighborhood like a queen with a clipboard, until she set her own porch on fire and blamed me. Here's how a live stream, a gnome, and a group of angry neighbors finally dethroned Karen. Where are you watching this from? Drop your city, your state, or your HOA horror stories in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because trust me, you do not want to miss the next one. You ever wake up to the sound of your own windows being shattered by your HOA president, no less? Because I did. But here's the twist. She didn't realize the whole thing was being live-streamed to hundreds of viewers. Let me rewind just a bit, because this story doesn't start with broken glass. It starts with the sweetest little fixer-upper house I bought just outside Phoenix, Arizona. See, I just moved out of a messy divorce and decided to start over somewhere sunny, quiet, and peaceful. The neighborhood looked like something out of a retirement brochure. Green lawns, pastel houses, and retirees walking their dogs like clockwork. Everything looked normal until I met her, Karen Wexler, president of the Oak Hollow HOA. 60-something, crisp khakis, a clipboard surgically attached to her hand, and the kind of smile that made you check your mailbox twice for citations. The first time I met her, she didn't say hello. Nope. She tapped her pen on her clipboard and said, "That mailbox is 1 inch too tall." I laughed, thought she was joking. She wasn't. That should have been the first red flag. But hey, I'm an optimist. I adjusted the mailbox, smiled, and went on with my renovations. I spent weeks turning that little home into my sanctuary. Fresh paint, new landscaping, solar panels. Oh, yeah, and one more thing. I'm a small Twitch streamer. Nothing big. Just gaming, DIY projects, and occasional cooking fail. My followers love it when I go live with renovation rants, where I stream home upgrades and chat with folks in real time, which is exactly what I was doing the day Karen snapped. Now, here's the thing about streaming. It records everything. That includes the day Karen decided to wage war over a rose bush. But we're not there yet. First, let me paint the full picture. Karen wasn't just annoying, she was obsessed with control. I couldn't hang a wind chime without getting a violation notice. My trash bins, cited for lingering 5 minutes past collection. My dog, too loud. My solar panels, reflective hazard. But I followed every rule, every code, every page of that 87-page HOA handbook. She clutched like it was a Bible. And every time, she found something new. Then came the cameras. After a few tools mysteriously went missing from my porch, I installed a simple security system with live feed and motion alerts. Nothing fancy, just enough to see who was walking up to my door. I joked about it on stream, even did a mini tech review. My followers found it hilarious. "Better watch out, Karen," one viewer joked. If only we knew. Because 3 days later, Karen escalated. She came onto my property unannounced. Not once, not twice, but 6 times. And each time, she had a new complaint. Grass height, bird feeder location, garden gnome placement. I kid you not. Gnomes. It was funny at first. My chat blew up every time she appeared on camera, calling her the Gnome Reaper. But it wasn't funny when she started getting aggressive. She'd leave notes on my car, glare at me from her porch, and once, she even moved one of my planters while I was at work. The paranoia started creeping in. I was documenting everything. Even joked that I was collecting evidence for a Karen compilation video. I didn't know I'd actually need it. Then came the day my live stream became a crime scene. I had left my stream running while I went to pick up mulch from the hardware store. Just a chill, be right back stream for my followers. Except I forgot to turn off the outdoor mic. And when I came back, my chat was in chaos. Caps locked messages. "Call the cops. She's breaking your stuff. OMG, she's gonna snap." I froze, looked at the monitor, saw the security cam footage. Karen, on my porch, with a crowbar. And then, smash. She went full psycho, swinging that crowbar like she was auditioning for a zombie apocalypse movie. First the flower boxes, then the porch light, then my living room window. Glass flew. My dog barked like mad from inside. And my Twitch chat? They got it all. Every second. Recorded. Time-stamped. Live-streamed. My stomach dropped. But I didn't call the cops. Not yet. Because what Karen didn't know, what she still didn't know, was that one of my subscribers, a sheriff's deputy, watching live. Let me tell you something about small towns. News travels faster than fiber optic internet. By the time I got home, broom in hand and jaw still clenched from seeing my living room window reduced to shards, My inbox was overflowing. Messages from neighbors, Twitch followers, even a local news anchor who DM'd. Do you have a statement? I hadn't even called the cops yet, but someone had. Because just 30 minutes after I stepped inside, a cruiser rolled up. And guess who stepped out? Deputy Raymond, a.k.a. Game Night 77, my regular Twitch subscriber. Yeah, that deputy. He took one look at the scene, glanced at the footage on my screen, and went, well, this is going to get interesting. And boy, was he right. Karen was arrested. Briefly. Apparently, the HOA had some backroom agreement with local law enforcement that complicated things. She wasn't held overnight, just cited and released. But the damage had already been done. The video had gone viral, clipped and shared across YouTube and Reddit with titles like, When HOA Presidents Go Full Psycho Mode. Memes followed. TikToks. Someone even auto-tuned her screaming that Gnome violates code into a remix. And then came the email from the HOA. Subject line, Notice of Emergency Board Meeting. I almost laughed. It was set for Thursday, 7 p.m. at the Oak Hollow Community Center. Residents were encouraged to attend. I didn't need encouraging. I RSVP'd with 3 words. I'll bring footage. When I arrived, the room was packed. Every folding chair taken. People leaning against the walls, whispering, clutching copies of the HOA bylaws like church programs. At the front was Karen. Her hair perfect, her pearls shinier than her moral compass. To her right sat the HOA board. 5 people I'd never seen before, all equally tense. Let's maintain decorum, one of them mumbled, tapping a microphone that barely worked. Karen cleared her throat like she was addressing a jury. I would like to address the misleading narrative being spread about my recent enforcement actions. I nearly choked. Enforcement actions? She went on, rambling about unauthorized security devices, privacy invasions, and threatening online mobs. She claimed I had incited harassment against her, claimed I edited the video, claimed she was a victim. And to my shock, a few people nodded, until Mrs. Alvarez stood up. Now, Mrs. Alvarez is 78 years old and bakes cookies for everyone, unless you're on Karen's bad side. She pulled out her phone and said, I got the unedited footage right here. My grandson follows this man on Twitch. She smashed his window like it owed her money. Laughter rippled through the room. Karen's face twisted, but she didn't sit down. Instead, she pulled out her phone. Actually, I have evidence too, she said, tapping on something. A private Facebook group, where residents have shared serious concerns about this homeowner's behavior. Murmurs, gasps, and then silence, because what she forgot to do was check her privacy settings. The group? Not private anymore. One of my followers, a local teen named Lexi, had joined it the night before. She posted screenshots. One showed Karen instructing people how to file strategic complaints to trigger fines. Another revealed her talking about forcing problem residents out. My name? Bold, underlined, starred. I read the messages aloud, each one more damning than the last. One board member's jaw dropped. Another asked, Karen, did you create this group? Her silence said everything. That was the moment the tide turned. People who'd once whispered about Karen started speaking out loud. One neighbor admitted she'd been fined $150 for planting unauthorized sunflowers. Another said Karen had entered his backyard to measure his fence height. With a ladder, the room grew louder, angry, alive. For the first time, Karen looked small, cornered, but she wasn't done. Oh no, she pulled her final card. This man, she spat, pointing at me, is streaming right now to strangers online who are watching you. Think about that. Half the room turned to me, and I smiled, walked up to the mic. Yes, I'm streaming, so the world can see how petty power can twist someone into a tyrant. Then I turned the camera around, and now they see all of you, and they know the truth. Thunderous applause. Karen sat down. The board called a recess. But the story? It wasn't over. Not even close. The day I got served, it was 98 degrees outside, and my sprinkler was broken. I was elbow-deep fixing a busted PVC pipe when a man in a suit walked across my lawn, like it was a courtroom aisle, and handed me a folder. You've been served, he said. Real polite, real dramatic. Karen was suing me for defamation, for malicious damage to reputation, incitement of harassment, and, my personal favorite, emotional distress caused by digital mobbing. I flipped through the folder in disbelief. She had a real lawyer. Some shark from Scottsdale named Trent Holloway, whose website had phrases like reputation defender and social media smear specialist. At first, I laughed, until I saw the court date. This wasn't a bluff. She was throwing every dime of HOA budget and personal savings into taking me to court. And you know what? It worked. My Twitch notifications stopped buzzing. Brand deals I was negotiating quietly ghosted me. I lost over 300 followers in 1 week. Karen's narrative, that she was an elderly woman being digitally bullied by a toxic content creator and his rabid fans, started gaining traction. Local news outlets ran both sides. Some podcasts even debated whether live streaming neighbors was an ethical violation. And then came the subpoena, not just for me, but for my entire Twitch archive. She wanted every second reviewed. She cherry-picked clips where chat members joked about chasing Karen with gnomes, using them to build a harassment narrative. My lawyer, Alan Rusk, bless his nervous, overworked heart, spent nights cross-referencing every chat log and clip to prove my innocence. Meanwhile, Karen's team pushed a slick, polished version of her story, a lonely widow, just trying to uphold neighborhood standards, hounded by online bullies with pitchforks made of memes. A documentary-style YouTube video popped up titled, "When HOAs Get Hunted, the Digital Villainization of Karen Wexler." And the kicker? Karen was winning sympathy. Not in my neighborhood. Those folks knew the truth. But online, people love an underdog, especially a senior citizen with a lawyer who knows how to cry on cue. The court date arrived like a storm cloud. The courthouse was packed. News vans outside. Sketch artists inside. I sat at the defendant's table, fingers twitching, trying not to throw up. Karen entered in a beige power suit, flanked by Trent Holloway and a tech expert who claimed I had violated Arizona's Electronic Communications Privacy Act. Their argument was sharp. I had streamed her without clear consent, thereby subjecting her to emotional exploitation for entertainment gain. Then they dropped the big one, a claim for $150,000 in damages. My jaw hit the table. Karen barely looked at me, her eyes locked on the judge, the jury, the narrative she crafted like a villain in pearls. And for a moment, I thought she'd win. Until Alan stood up. He wasn't flashy. No pocket square. No TED Talk voice. But he had something better. Truth. He showed the footage of the broken windows. He walked the jury through every HOA citation, every manipulated post from the secret group, and every neighborhood statement submitted voluntarily. But then he did something genius. He called Lexi to the stand. Remember Lexi? The teen who leaked the HOA group? She stood there in her Vans hoodie, swearing in and said, "Karen told us we should fake complaints. She told me to post pictures of his yard and say it was trashy even if it wasn't. I thought it was just old lady drama. But when she broke his window, I knew it was serious." The courtroom buzzed. Trent objected, claimed Lexi's testimony was inadmissible, but the judge overruled, and that opened the door. One by one, neighbors stepped up. Mrs. Alvarez, the fence guy, even the lady who got fined for having unsanctioned wind socks. They didn't just talk. They swore under oath. They weren't fans. They were witnesses. And Karen? She started unraveling. Her face twitched. She whispered frantically to her lawyer. She tried to speak out of turn. At one point, she snapped, "He was ruining the neighborhood. He was mocking me online." The judge asked, "Did he ever contact you directly?" "No, but his fans did." "Did he instruct them to?" "Well, no, but then sit down." When it was all over, the judge didn't just throw out her lawsuit. He sanctioned her for abuse of legal process. Karen had weaponized the court system like she'd weaponized the HOA bylaws. And now, finally, someone called her out. I didn't win any money, but I didn't lose either. And sometimes, not losing to Karen feels like winning the lottery. While Karen was busy spiraling from her courtroom loss, fielding media calls and awkwardly avoiding neighbors, something else was brewing beneath the surface. Something she didn't see coming. Because while the world was busy memeing her into oblivion, her own empire was quietly eroding from within. See, power doesn't vanish in a single explosion. Sometimes it crumbles piece by piece. And in this case, it started with HOA Vice President Terrence Boone. Terrence wasn't flashy. Retired military. 2 cats. 1 lawnmower he wouldn't trade for gold. But he'd had enough. Years of watching Karen override votes, bury budget details, and correct minutes after meetings had turned him from loyal second-in-command to quiet skeptic. And after the trial, he was done watching. He was ready to act. He reached out to me in the most unexpected way,